We back. We back, baby. You know, I just want to say thank you so much to this community. Thank you so much to all the support that I've gotten on this channel. Just wanted to say, like, if you're new to the channel, appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Haven't posted anything in a week because sadly, last Sunday, lost my dad. So I took a week off and, had to deal with all that. And I just want to say, like, my dad was one of my biggest supporters on this YouTube channel, on this journey that I started. Always watched all my videos. So it's definitely like, just feels so real that I'm making this first video. Dad won't be watching it. And so, you know what? That's okay. I know he's watching me from up above. And so, just wanted to say I appreciate this community. Thank you guys all for giving me my space during this time. But we're back to making fantasy football content. And I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to hold it together during the show because, like I said, it has been an emotional time in my life. But before we get started, what are we going to do? We're going to hit that intro. Man, oh man, death is hard, but something that brings me joy and I hope brings you joy is fantasy football. And so that's why we're here. And we are doing our week 4 waiver wire ads. So, of course, waiver wire pickup number 1 has to be Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert, I think, did what everyone thought David Montgomery would do, but he did it better. If we want to look, let me quickly share my screen. And I realize I did not share my screen. Is we will quickly see that Khalil Herbert in PPR had 30.9 fantasy points per game last week, which is super great. But why are we so excited about Khalil Herbert, and why do I think you should use about 10% of your fab budget? If you have a budget, if you're just playing the rolling waivers, then I guess you have a decent shot at getting him, but we'll see. That if we look at how everything kind of went with Khalil Herbert, he played 38 snaps, had 14 routes run, and he got 2 total targets. But yeah, he still put up 30 fantasy points. Those snap shares, David Montgomery got 11. So imagine if there's even room for Khalil Herbert to get better. I know they're playing the Texans. I know Texans defense isn't great. So I understand the Bears offense isn't great. I understand all that. But if you actually watch the game, you can see that Khalil Herbert had a little bit extra explosion, not your typical David Montgomery, just kind of slow prodding. We all thought David Montgomery was going to be a solid RB2. I thought David Montgomery was going to be a solid RB2, but with the injury, Khalil Herbert gets to step up and prove what he did last year, and that is super exciting. So Khalil Herbert is your most priority ad for week 4 for fantasy football, and that brings us into our second high priority ad for week 4 fantasy football is going to be Alexander Madison. Alexander Madison, what the heck, Dalvin Cook? That is a man that I was high on all offseason. I have a lot of shares of Dalvin Cook. So the fact that Dalvin Cook got injured and it's the shoulder, the darn shoulder, the always seems to get injured shoulder, man, Alexander Madison, it's your time to shine, buddy. It's your time to shine. So if you are a Dalvin Cook owner and you did not already pick up Alexander Madison, what the heck? You know what? They say don't handcuff. Everyone always preaches, don't handcuff running backs. This is why we handcuff running backs right exactly here, because all of a sudden Alexander Madison, RB1 potential, and that's why we're throwing him in our lineups. But if he is somehow out there sitting on the waiver wire, go pick him up. Khalil Herbert should be number 1. Alexander Madison should be number 2. Alexander Madison let's see the tape. Dalvin Cook played 44 snaps, had 15 routes, and had 17 carries. Alexander Madison had 28 snaps, ran 12 routes, and only had 7 carries. So if he could get that 15 to 17 carries, that he probably will if Dalvin Cook's out next week, which I assume he's going to be out next week, we are looking at an RB1 potential. And for all of you out there that are saying, Caleb, this is exactly why I do 0 RB. You know what? If you drafted Stephon Diggs, if you drafted Cooper Kupp in the first, you're feeling pretty good about yourself if that's what you did. But for all those of us that drafted robust RB, man, this hurts, but this is why you have to get those handcuffs. I'm not the fantasy football counselor when I preach the robust RB. I just do it because I like having the solid running backs, but it's been a rough year for us running backs. Even if you drafted Jonathan Taylor, it's been rough. My week 3 waiver wire ad is going to be Romeo Dobbs, the man, the preseason hype man himself. Romeo, where out though, Romeo? My man is showing out. He showed out. If we look at what happened here, I didn't even get to say how many fantasy points he put up this week, and I need to pull that up because it was He was the 20th. He ranked 20th on PPR fantasy points this week with 21.3. Wide receiver 1 territory for the Green Bay Packers. Also, just in general, if we look at what he did, he played 55 total snaps. And I realize I'm not sharing this, so let me share this. Not like that. Maybe you can't see it, but let me just read it for you. 55 total snaps, 34 routes run, and 8 total targets. 8 total targets, and my man put up 21 fantasy points. Imagine if those targets go up next week, 11, 12. Aaron Rodgers always talks about not loving throwing to those rookie wide receivers, but he's going to have to because, to be honest, the Green Bay Packers offense, the wide receiver core looks terrible. And like we all thought, and if he can do what he did against Tampa Bay ain't no slouch. There were some solid cornerbacks out there for Tampa Bay. Their defense is good. We're excited here for Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs season is upon us, and I just mispronounced his name. But he should be your week 3 waiver wire ad. My week 4 waiver wire ad is going to be Samaje Perine. Okay. Joe Mixon, he was up there for me. I had Joe Mixon as my RB4, and the Bengals have looked freaking terrible. Really terrible. Like, they finally got their win against the Jets. But we are just Team Higgins, that was nasty. That was a nasty grab that they didn't call for a touchdown. It should have been a touchdown. But Joe Mixon gets injured. Typical. Dalvin Cook gets injured. Joe Mixon gets injured. What? This is a typical week. DeAndre Swift gets injured. Like, come on, guys. I guess I try to evaluate in the offseason for upside, and here we are, upside on the bench. And Joe Mixon, if we want to look, let's look at what Joe Mixon did here this last week. Played 45 snaps, 26 routes. He had 12 carries and 6 targets. Samaje Perine played half the snaps. So he played 23 snaps, had 7 routes, 2 targets, and 9 carries. Okay, so I imagine Samaje Perine gets somewhere around 16 to 17 carries next week, and that is why you're going to be throwing him in your lineup. And the thing is, if somehow Khalil Herbert and Alexander Madison are on your waiver wire, then everyone's going to be going after them, and no one's going to be going after Samaje Perine. To be fair, Alexander Madison, depending on how long Dalvin Cook is out, Samaje Perine and Alexander Madison might be worth the same amount, or like be starting the same amount of time, and you don't have to like rush or fret or throw as much fab as Samaje Perine. So Samaje Perine, that's why I have him as my number 4 waiver wire pickup for this week. But like I said, he's not. I don't think he has the same upside as the guys ahead of him, but I think he might have the same amount of starting opportunities based on the injuries. My number 5 waiver wire target for week 4 is going to be Rashad White. Rashad White, 3rd round pick by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Rashad White, my guy, is the backup to Lenny Fournette. We know what's happening. Julio Jones somehow has some PCL tear. Mike Evans was just suspended. Chris Godwin, when is he going to come back? So they have been relying heavily on playoff Lenny to get the ball to the end zone to score. I know it was a brutal game. Seeing the Green Bay Packers and Tampa Bay Bucks with it just was not close at all. It was close, but it wasn't like a high scoring game at all. So it was rough to watch. And I think the thing that I have to remember is, so Lenny played 59 total snaps. He had 35 routes run, 6 total targets, and 12 carries. And after the game, Todd Bowles said, we need to get Rashad White more involved. We need to get some of the Lenny, what is happening in the background, we need to get the load off of his shoulders. And Rashad White, he has that potential. He really does. And I'm excited about Rashad White. So he's more of a bench stash for me. If you have Lenny, I'd be picking up Rashad White immediately. And so sorry for the background noise of the rain or the water running down. I'm so sorry about that. But I think the thing is, Rashad White, he needs to be on your waiver wire priority. You're not going to have to spend as much as Samaje Perine, Khalil Herbert, or Alexander Madison, but Rashad White has the same type of upside if he were to get onto the field. My number 6 waiver wire ad is going to be our man, Matt Collins. Shout out to heavy hitter Rob, who is one of the, love you, Rob. Support the channel, baby. But he asked me the question, do I start Hollins or do I start Treylon Burks this week? And I was the idiot, and I said, Treylon Burks. It's breakout season, baby. Treylon Burks. And then, of course, Matt Collins absolutely blows up. What does he do? He just proves to us that he is no slouch. He ran 68 snaps. So Devontae Adams was on the field for 70 snaps. Matt Collins was on the board for 68 snaps. So he was out there just as much as Devontae Adams. They both ran around the similar routes, and he actually out-targeted Devontae Adams. Matt Collins had 9 targets, and Devontae Adams had 8. And this one's hard because Matt Collins was the wide receiver. Well, he was the 4th best. I realize I need to get this out of the way. My man put up 30 fantasy points. 30 fantasy points, and he's playing across from Devontae Adams. What the heck's going to happen to Darren Waller? What's going to happen to Hunter Renfrow? We got another animal in the beast for the Las Vegas Raiders. Help spread out the field. I don't know. I don't know if I buy into the hype. Was this week 2 of solid play by Hollins? I don't know. Is this year's DJ Chark? Is this year's Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't know. It's hard for me to believe when you have an alpha like Devontae Adams opposite of you to be able to support and say, you know what, this guy's doing it. But he had an elite target share this week. And so, like I said, if you are stuck needing wide receiver help, then I think I would prefer Dobbs over Hollins. But like I said, maybe only one's available on your waiver wire, or maybe you have to, debate 2 here. I think I'm taking Matt Collins for sure. Not Matt Collins. I'm taking Dobbs. But if you have to fall back, Hollins could, like I said, he could be a steal. Could be a steal. Now, all of you were saying last week, I gave you running backs and wide receivers, but I didn't give you anything else, and that's fine. So that is why number 7, we're going to give you a freebie. My man, Tyler Conklin, coming in as the tight end. If you need some tight end help, you know what? It is a brutal landscape for any of us. And Tyler Conklin, it didn't look great. I actually threw him in one of my spots. I had Noah Fant as my starting tight end. I know it's brutal. It's brutal. I really should have drafted a tight end earlier. It's okay. All my Cole Kmet hype and love this offseason. That was my worst take. But if we look, Tyler Conklin put up 16 fantasy points in PPR this week. Let me quickly show exactly what he did against the Bengals. So against the Bengals, my man, he played 67 snaps, 44 routes run, and he had 8 targets. 8 targets as a tight end you're getting on your waiver wire. Like, most of the guys, you're hoping they get 5 or 6 targets, and he got 8. And now this is back-to-back weeks where he's put up solid production. Tyler Conklin, he's right now a tight end 1, surprisingly. So if you need tight end help and you do not have Travis Kelce or Kyle Pitts or anyone like that, like go look, get you some Tyler Conklin and see if that can help you make some extra pushes as we get into week 4. Let us not remember, fantasy football is a long season. So if you are 0-3, there is still time to come back. I will say, my leagues, I'm doing pretty good in all my leagues. One of my leagues, I'm 1-2. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but we can't be nervous. We're having fun. We're enjoying fantasy football content. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. And we are doing a live tonight. So show up to that live. We will be answering all questions. I will be answering all questions. Hope you come hang out. Just ask a question, hang out for a bit. And I'll catch you guys on tomorrow's video where we will be doing running back rankings for week 4. So I'll catch you back here tomorrow.